What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to Talking Mets and Rob. How is everybody doing? Before I get started talking about the possible trade for Blake Snell, don't forget, guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit on that like button. If you enjoy my content, want to see more, want to get notified when I post my videos, and when I go live, you guys know what to do. Hit on that subscribe button, everybody. All right, guys. So, are the Mets going to get a big starter? Are they going to get Blake Snell? What's it going to take? What's his contract look? And is David Stearns going to make this move to get a top line starting pitcher on this New York Mets team? I think he's going to make a big move. I'm leaning towards he's still going to get a starting pitcher that is going to be at the top of this rotation. And Blake Snell is probably the best fit in the way the Mets are probably thinking financially over prospects. But the rumor is the San Francisco Giants, yes, would like that contract off the books, but they also want a prospect or two along with that. Now, that's a tough go for any team that is trying to get Blake Snell. They got to take on his money and his contract and give up prospects. Well, I have an idea here, and we'll look at a little bit of a proposal in a little bit. Blake Snell to the New York Mets. Is it closer than we actually think, right? We had the reporter yesterday asking Severino directly about Blake Snell, which is very odd for any reporter to ask a player about another player on another team that has not been traded to that actual team. So that's something that is very, very interesting when it comes to, is Blake Snell coming to the Mets? Is he coming to Queens? That is something that we're going to have to go into detail with and figure out. And is David Stearns willing to do it? The money and the prospects, or work out a deal in another aspect, in another offer that can get Blake Snell to Queens. So what is it? Do you want Blake Snell as a Mets fan? Well, it could be a lot worse, right? I'd rather have Blake Snell than no Blake Snell, right? He has pitched better over his last couple of starts. In his career, he's been a better second half pitcher, right? We know all the talk about him is where he doesn't go deep into games. He's a 5, maybe 6 inning pitcher, but he's a dominant 5 or 6 inning pitcher. That is what the Mets need. After the Senga injury, it's very, very clear what the Mets need. They need a starter. They don't need a 4th starter or a 5th starter. They need at the very least a number 2, possibly a number 1. That's where we are. And the Kodai Senga injury put this Mets team in that scenario. So that's what they got to do. Is David Stearns going to do it? So what is it looking like when it comes to his contract going forward? We'll look at it right here when it comes to Blake Snell's contract, right? He is owed $23.5 million this year. So a couple more months, it's much less than half of his contract is already paid from the Giants. So you got that. But in the following year, his last year of the contract, it's $38.5 million. That is a huge amount of money for a starting pitcher that doesn't go deep into games. Yes, he has Cy Young stuff, but it's always risky with pitchers that are older than 30 getting injured. Now, are you willing to do that and jeopardize maybe a possible sign-in or free agent next offseason because you got Blake Snell? I don't think that's really the case, but there's always a possibility that could happen. But again, $23.5 million this year, $38.5 next year. It's a ton of money. You might have to give up a prospect or two and take on that contract. I don't know how many Met fans are willing to do it, and it seems like the Giants are staying really firm on that asking price. Again, things can change rather quickly. We got less than 6 hours until the deadline. So the Giants might just want to get rid of that contract. They just traded Jorge Soler. They're probably going to trade a pitcher or two. And it's looking like Snell's probably going to be off the market very soon. I think the Giants will trade him. Depending on who it is, we'll see. But the Mets have spoken to the Giants about Blake Snell. Obviously, there's communication there. Is it more advanced than we actually know? Because leaks have not come out of the Mets front office at all. The Stanek deal came out of nowhere. Nobody knew it was happening until it happened. Same thing with Jesse Winker. Right before Jesse Winker happened, not even a day ago, we heard the Mets were talking to the Giants about Michael Conforto. And then Jesse Winker happened. The same thing with Maton. Same exact thing. You haven't heard anything in regards of the Mets rumors until the trade actually happens. So again, a ton of money on the books for Snell. It's a risk, absolutely. But is it worth the risk in Mets fans' eyes? I would say most would say absolutely. But in David Stern's eyes, is it worth it in the present and the future? That is something we will have to see. But when it comes to Blake Snell, and we're hearing the rumors and we're hearing the reports that the Giants just don't want the contract off their books. They want a prospect. They want possibly an everyday player. They want maybe two prospects. So this is what I'm thinking here. You can shine it up a little bit and maybe get the Giants to take this type of deal. And we're going to looks like this. The Mets obviously get Blake Snell and his contract, and the Mets will send Brett Baty and Cade Morris, their 25th ranked prospect in their farm system, right-handed pitcher, who is in high A right now, who's pitching very well. He is a guy that projected to be here in 2026. This is what I would do. I would not give a top 10 prospect along with taking on a contract. The Mets did that stupidly before giving up Kelnick, their number one overall prospect, and took on the money of Robinson Cano to get Diaz. That does not happen. The Giants are trying to, put a GM over a barrel and have like a Kikuchi type of deal going on here. That is not going to happen. I'm firm in this that a team is not going to pay the contract and give a top 10 prospect. Now, am I willing to give a guy like Brett Baty and a top 25 prospect? Absolutely. If they want to go a little bit closer to 16, 17, 18 ranked prospect, I'm on board with that. I'm not giving the top 10 prospect and paying the contract of Blake Snell. That you just don't see that happen. Don't do that. But I do want Blake Snell. Now, you can mess around with the prospect a little bit, but I'm putting Brett Baty in there. So it's up to the Giants to decide if that's the case. Obviously, they'll have other offers on the table. But I think David Stearns, when we heard a couple of days ago that the Mets have spoke to the Giants about Blake Snell, it's clearly a lot of communication going on between those two teams. So there is a big possibility over the next 5.5 hours or so, I think Blake Snell is going to be a Met. I just have that. I'm starting to have that feeling that, reading the tea leaves, the reporter asking specifically about Blake Snell to Luis Severino, which is one of the oddest things that I've heard and seen. Reporters don't ask players about other players, especially when it comes to trading players. They might ask, would you want to see additions to this team, but never direct players asking about another player. That is very odd. So, in your opinion, guys, would you do this deal? I would. Would you be willing to give up a top 10 prospect and instead of Morris, you put a top 10 prospect in there and take on the contract? Now, I'm not too crazy about prospects. I don't really mind who they give up, but I'm also trying to get into the head of David Stearns, not my head, and just say, do what you got to do to win this year and prospects be damned. I'm thinking about what David Stearns would do. So let me know in the comments, guys, what you think of the trade offer that I just brought up. And it looks like this, guys. Brett Baty, Cade Morris to the Giants, and the Mets get Blake Snell and that contract. Is that a deal that you're willing to do? I'm willing to do it because the Mets need a starting pitcher. They don't need a fourth or fifth starter. They need a top-of-the-line starter. It's just that simple. So let me know in the comments, guys. What do you think of this offer? Do you want Blake Snell, or would you rather just pivot to another starter? Maybe you can use another prospect too to get somebody you might trust a little bit more. Once again, guys, I want to thank you for watching. Don't forget, guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit on that like button if you enjoy my content. Want to see more, want to get notified when I post my videos. And when I go live, you guys know what to do. Hit on that subscribe button, everybody. I always want to thank you guys for watching. And as always, Mets fans, let's go, Mets.